For many years, it has been truly difficult to talk about the world differently than what we are led to believe without being called a conspiracy theorist. When I first, awoke into this world of what we truly are living in, I was called a conspiracy theorist. And back then I had a really hard time with that because I knew I wasn't one. I was raised in the same world as many of us are, and I was raised to believe in the systems in place for us humans. And I was raised to believe that all of us are doing the best we can and that suffering is just a part of it and we're all trying to stop it, or someone's trying to stop it, and we're all just doing the best we can, generation after generation, because this is the way the humans are. And in some ways it sucks, and in some ways you just accept it because the world isn't as beautiful as you thought it was meant to be when you were a kid. And so you just go along with it. You feed into the systems, you enable the systems, you support the systems, you fight for the systems, you believe in them, and you do every part of your life in them thinking that they are for the good, that it is our right and our what is good because it's considered first world. And while it is all that, when you begin to look into the world further, it becomes rather apparent very quickly when you actually begin to dig that the world we're living in is not what we think. That the world that we think is made beneficial for us is not truly beneficial for the human race. That the world that we're living in is actually a system where you just get by, a system where you work your ass off to barely make your minimum payments. And that in this system, it's very hard for many to get out of it. And so when you have this many people in this area, it's hard for them to help the people that are starving or suffering or have no place to live or clothes or to have anything that we consider what you need to survive. And yet we have all these elites, these governments that are spending millions and billions and trillions of dollars on things that they consider necessary, and yet allow all of the suffering of these people after generations and generations and generations. And so people use the term conspiracy theorist and tinfoil hat so easily and throw it around as if it's a bad thing. And for a few years there, I did consider it a bad thing because I was raised to believe that conspiracy theorists meant that you are crazy, that you are a loon, that you're cracked out and you have no clue what you're talking about, that you believe in these fabled stories and crazy things that how could that be possible? How could you even believe that to be true? That you must just be a conspiracy theorist. Until I started to research. And I'm going to tell you that you don't have to study and research for many, many years to see the beginning of the downfall of the illusion. But as you go further and start researching for years, you realize how this is something that has been in place since the beginning. That these systems were made for a reason, for an agenda. And then you come out the other side and you realize that being called a conspiracy theorist is actually a compliment, because it means that you have done your research. It means that you know better than what they tell you to believe. It means that you have stepped out and pulled yourself out of the system and what they tell you to believe, to begin thinking for yourself, to begin realizing what is actually happening. What are the people saying? The people that are just like you. You think they're just whining and complaining for no reason? No. They're trying to tell you what is going on. And yet we are the ones that are not listening. We're not listening to the people like us. We're listening to the people above us that are telling us what to believe, and we just look up to them as if they know everything. And yet they're the ones that are not good to us. They're the ones that are creating what we are living. And we are the ones that are helping them to uphold this. Do you know how many conspiracy theories have been proven true? Do you know that it is proven and revealed and talked about by the people themselves, that they construe stories, that they falsify the data, that they create this propaganda, and they tell you that you need to be the one to be responsible for figuring that out. They tell you you need to be the one to find out who funded it, who paid for it, all of that stuff, except for to find that information is not easy. And yet they tell you how much of this is your responsibility. Growing up, I truly did believe in the governments. I believed in the politicians. At the same time, when I was growing up, I knew about the blackmail. I knew about the treason. I knew about the lies in politics. I knew about all of that because it was in the news. And then it was during the time I was a teenager that stopped being in the news because politicians decided to not have certain stories in the news because they knew how much it showed and revealed who they were, that people wouldn't trust them. The other thing is politicians lie to you for you to vote to get them in. And I don't understand how we still continue to do that. That we know politicians lie and continue to still vote them in. Besides the fact. The thing about the conspiracy theories is there are the ones put in place to deter you from the true ones. And do you know the true ones are actually even more crazy truly than the ones that you think are bogus? Because the bogus ones are bogus, as if people really believe those. There are some that do fine, but truly, no. The true ones that you call a conspiracy theorist are the ones that know the ones that are real, the ones that were false flags, the ones that the government put in place to get certain regulations and laws in place. Oh my God. There's so many. It's crazy. And if you just follow the trail in any way, you will find it and you will start seeing how much is going on that we don't know and that we just continue to let go on. What I wanted to say was that there are tons of conspiracy theories proven true. So many that there are certain ones that you would think are not true because it's so crazy to believe that they would do that to us humans. And yet they do. We have been a human experiment for our entire lives, each generation, and yet we don't know that. We are. It truly is in perspective, sure. You don't have to look at yourself as a human experiment if you don't want to see it in that light. Sure, go ahead, it's fine. But you need to realize the true intentions of the agenda that they've been trying to get across since before your time, since before your parents' time, since before our parents' parents' time. And that this agenda is going through right now because we are continually against each other. That we, the public, fight the people that are trying to voice, which is hard, okay? You think it's easy to get voices out when it's against the system? You think it's easy to get the true information out when it's against the system? People keep asking for proof and evidence. Do you know how hard that is? First of all, the system taught you what kind of evidence and proof to accept. And then they show you their side of the proof, which is biased, which is falsified, to get their agenda across and tell you to not accept the other true sciences, the other researchers, the other journals that are unbiased, trying to help the people. And everyone refuses that true data, the unfalsified data. Do you also know that it's proven in scientific research as well that someone's consciousness, so each person who conducts the experiment, their consciousness affects that experiment. Whatever result they wish to believe, they can create it to happen. Do you know that? And so knowing that and it being proven in science, how can we then say that this scientific data, scientific journal is correct and only this one is correct? Do you know who it's funded by? Do you know who performed the experiment? Do you know if the scientist then was the one, what they actually truly said is what was put out, or what was edited to be published to be put out? Do you also know of the scientific papers that never see the light of day because it wasn't the information that they wanted the public to know? It goes so crazy. It truly does. And I actually think that's the reason people like to say conspiracy theorists as a bad thing. I feel like that's the reason why people would rather believe the illusion than get truly into it, is because they don't want to believe that there is people that would truly do this and that this is the world we live in. And yet just because you want to hide from it, you think that means that's not the world you live in? No, it means that you're in support of the illusion that they're putting you in, that you're in support of all the suffering that is going on, because you just don't wish to know, because you're so busy with your life trying to make ends meet that you don't have time to be better, that you don't have time to try to be better to others, to be better to yourself, because we're all stressed out and you don't understand how hard I have to work to put food on the table. I do understand. I understand all of it. I understand it to the point where, why aren't the systems there in place to help the people? Why is it this is what we continue to go through and let our children go through generation after generation? Why is it that we continue to allow this to happen just because we think this is the way the world works? Why is it that we keep old things in place that do not work when we are changing? Why is it that we don't allow the talks of the people with the researchers and scientists? Why is it that we are not actually trying to help each other out? Why are we not trying to be better to each other? There are so many things here, and you will realize the root of it is because when they keep us low, which is busy working, super stressed, not in a good place, just low, then the world that they wish, the illusion continues, and we continue feeding it the money for them to make profit. Because when we are good and we are happy and we're taking care of everything, their world no longer works on us, because we begin to realize our true power, the choices we have, that life does not need to be like this, that we don't all have to be working like that none of us have to be working like that unless we wish to. Anyways, conspiracy theory, if you wish to believe it's a bad thing, then go for it. But I'm here to tell you that there's so much more to conspiracy theories before you can just take it as a label to call someone wacko. Because in truth, when the conspiracy is proven true, you're the one that looks like... So many words there. You can be ignorant if you choose. Ignorance is your choice, and they say ignorance is bliss. But ignorance is only bliss for the ones that it profits. Because through our ignorance is how they succeed. The reason why people like me and me like others keep speaking up is because we're trying to help you see that these people that you keep fighting for are not truly helping you. And what we are fighting for is to demand that they start from an intended place of true well-being for humans instead of a place for profit. Because that's all it's about. And it's trickling down into us. It's trickling down to the point where we all think that money is the most important thing, even though money is the most unnatural thing here on earth. Money is what we created here on earth. It isn't even something natural. Sure, some of it's made from natural, but that's it. We humans are a part of Earth. We grew from a part of Earth. The cells in us, every part of us is from this Earth. We have so many more rights, so many more inheritance of this land than we believe that we have. Oh my God. Anyways. The thing is, people always think that when you step from one opinion to the next that you automatically have to agree with it 100%. And you don't. All you have to do is realize where you stand. And then take yourself away from that. Be brave enough to be okay with taking your beliefs and putting it aside for a sec, and to see what other people are saying, to see why they have turned into this, to what they are. I didn't start out as what they call a conspiracy theorist. I started out very much a part of the system. I started out exactly like how many good humans trudged their way, worked their way in the system, because that's what you do to be good for society, and here we keep going. Yes, we support. And guess what? When you truly look at it, it all comes crumbling down because there are so many people this system does not truly support. If you are like many and you care just to keep your glasses on and not see anything because you just want to provide for your family only, sure, then go ahead. But all you're doing is contributing to the same future for your children. If you truly care about your children and the human populace and the future, you will take your time and prioritize to figure out what world we're truly living in. Because otherwise, our children and their children's children are going to go through the exact same thing we are. And so far, all it looks to me is gloomy. All I've ever seen from adults for generations is gloom, is that they tried their hardest, they worked most of their life, and where do they end up? Yeah, okay, retirement, but now what? Their pensions are gone. Everything they worked for is gone, and where are they? They worked all those years, 40 plus. For what? For what? I truly, truly care about every single human being, even the ones that we consider evil, because I don't believe in just light and dark and good and evil, as they are one and the same. They come from the same place, and they are needed so that we can see and choose what each other is, so that we can make a choice. This all comes down to choice. It comes down to choice of perspective. It comes down to choice of perception. And it comes down to choice of action. So I leave you with this, which is one of my favorite sayings, because it is so true. Conspiracies are only as such until they are proven true. And guess what? When they're proven true, hardly anybody knows. Hardly. But we are lucky is because there have been so many light workers throughout time that it's easier to find these now. You can find how many conspiracies have been proven true. And let me tell you, they're pretty out there and ridiculous. There's more evidence and proof of false flags than you can imagine. And knowing this helps you to see that they can do it, they have done it, and they'll do it again because it works. Another thing about this is you need to see their patterns and formulas, the things that they follow. Because to them right now, it works with the human behavior and populace. That's something else you need to understand too. How long have they been studying human behavior? How much they have been studying human behavior? It's been before your time. It's been before my time. It's been before our parents' time. A lot of people that you don't even realize have been experimented on. People in your lives and people all around the world. People that you don't give extra care for. We are so unkind to people that we don't realize that we add to their suffering. Just because we're so engrossed in our own lives full of distraction, distress, survival. And it was made to be that way. Don't you see? Because when you're in that mode, when you're that low just trying to make it through, how can you see the rest of what they're pulling over you? Because how can you have the time and effort to see that, all of that? You don't, and that's the point. Anyways, soon to change. Soon to change. I hope that you all decide to be a part of that change, because it is going to be like that. It's either that you're going to understand it and see it now, or you're going to be left behind. And we all don't wish to leave anyone behind, but that's the choice now. It's your choice. It's your choice to decide to not decide. It's your choice that if you are left behind. Staying behind isn't a bad thing. It's only 25 more million years of the exact same thing? Anyways, I know a lot of you won't get that, but that's the cycles of our soul. So, anyways. Right now is the time, universally, for us all to change. And everything is in support of that. So, whether you wish to or not, the choice is right now among you to make or not make. Good luck, everyone.